Welcome to Rebuilding Trust in Tech, a podcast about scientific results, practical technical tools, and solutions that help to ensure technology is worthy of trust. The speakers in this episode are Alessandra Sala and Maty Bohacek. Alessandra is the Senior Director of AI and Data Science at Shutterstock. She also chairs the AI Multimedia Authenticity Collaboration, a multi-stakeholder group led by the World Standards Corporation of IEC, ISO, and ITU. Maty Bohacek is a student at Stanford, a research intern at Google DeepMind, and a visiting student at MIT.
If we live in a world where whatever we see or read, we cannot distinguish anymore whether it is synthetically generated or it's human created, where do we place trust? And therefore the question is, as a researcher, what can we do to build technology that help us human to keep control and understand and better inspect the content that we consume in the digital space by attaching the right level of trust.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. It's so nice to be here with you. That's a big question. That's a really big question. Super easy to start with. I think there are many ways to look at this, and there are many different kinds of solutions. But I think it's good to start by just saying that, or sort of establishing that within the next 2 years or so, the kind of AI generated content you're talking about, the text, the images, the videos, the audio, will become basically perceptually indistinguishable from authentic, real, captured content for us humans. And if we know that, if we just take that as a sort of like a timeline we're working with, then we can make, I think, better decisions and sort of prepare our solutions and our tech in a way that actually meets the demand. It's this famous saying of going where the puck is headed, not where the puck is at. So we want to be there, I think. In terms
I love that say. Very good.
It's a very Canadian, ice hockey saying because it's Wayne Gretzky, I think. But so I think specifically talking about solutions and building trust and enabling consumers, but also just like practitioners and researchers to have trust for both the sort of generative side and also for the sort of detection or forensic side. We want to just talk about how these things work. I think we should do a better job of explaining in basic terms and in very like plain language, but explaining what these systems are doing. And so when we deploy, for example, detectors of AI images or AI videos, I think it would be good to talk just briefly about like how they work and what they're doing. And for example, that a lot of the new models, a lot of the new generative models are actually learning concepts that seem to be only correlated or only seem to appear when there is a generated image, generated text. So the models themselves sort of know or have a way of building that signal, which we humans can't see, but the models can. And so we can simply explain that there's something like that going on and we're sort of latching onto that. I think that's a good place to start.
So, Maty, what you're saying is that detector by itself, they give you an answer. This is, for example, an image, a real photography, or an AI-generated image. But as a human, how do we trust the decision?
Yeah.
So instead of just creating a decision suggestion for human, we will also attach an explanation that tells us that this model has detected this property in the content, and this property is an artifact that is generated usually by this model with this level of confidence. So it helps us to link a specific digital content with a specific property
100%.
that we know can only be created by specific technology or a specific camera.
100%.
And therefore, those are signals that can help human to put the trust in the decision
100%.
or suggestion that the detector is telling us that this is AI generated, and indeed it is.
Yes, 100%. I would also add that there are these things that sort of just like exist. There are these signals that just are plainly in these images or videos. Yeah. But we should also, I think, encourage companies or developers or just like providers of models to also go out of their way to add additional artifacts, right? Like watermarks, like provenance information, and build that into their outputs such that it's easier for the models to then detect it downstream. So I think there's both the sort of just like natural, like built-in artifacts, but also the ones we should be adding on top. So it's really sort of a multifaceted approach, and there's no silver bullet here. There is no one solution for everything. It's many things all at once, and over time, as we get nearer to this point where it's just indistinguishable for us perceptually, for us humans, I think it'll be more up to the platforms and more up to the providers to also do the tracing, do the sourcing, and for us consumers to like only put pressure on these companies and choose the ones that actually do that work and do that in a way that is authentic and builds trust, I think.
I really loved your point of saying we need to build technology as a researcher and technologies that help us to detect by discovering those natural artifacts in the digital content. But also as a leader in this technological space, we need to adopt the standards that are available today, like C2PA, JPEG Trust. There are more than 40 different variations of those standards that can help us to add those certificate and encrypted layer in the content, so we can use a variety of signal to get to the final decision. And from a technical perspective, how robust are those this ability to explain those signals in the digital content? Do you see that we have reached quite a mature state of art, or are we at the beginning and we need to continue to invest and call for more students to come and work with us to keep developing model and idea that can be attached to this concept of building trust?
Yeah, so I wish I could tell you that we're done. It's like state of the art, it's solved problem, but we're like just scratching the surface. Like the field of either we can call it mechanistic interpretability or just like trust and trustworthiness in AI in both language and vision is very, very, very understudied, I would say. There are so many problems. Like if you're entering this field and you want to do research, or if you just want to do like an independent sort of exploration, I can send you like a list of 100 problems that no one has worked on, and you can just like pick up and you'll be like the first to break ground on them. So I think there's a lot of work to be done. I think there has been a sort of standardized interest in explaining LLMs, large language models and language models. So there is a community around that. I don't think there's as much of that effort in vision, computer vision, so like images, video, that kind of stuff. There are certain researchers working on this, but it's just like a handful of people. So if you want to work on this, please come join us. Like there's a lot of work to be done.
And we have many ideas.
That is right. That is exactly right. Yeah, that's true. I also want to say that specifically there are some things we already know about these models. Like we already are better at like understanding where certain kinds of information is encoded, or like what some circuits or some reasoning sort of patterns are looking like. But it's still very much a black box when we talk about these like AI models. Like it's still a thing that we build, we train, and then we study to like poke around and like understand what's going on where, but like we have a very limited understanding of the system so far. So there's a lot of work to be done.
I completely agree. There is this research field that is explainable AI that has been quite hot for at least the past 5 to 7 years. However, there has been a lot of focus on large language model, some effort on the vision model, but there is a lot that needs to be done. And talking about the research community, you are actually physically in Dublin with me. You were at the ICM International Conference on Multimedia here in Dublin. More than 1,000 people, a great event, a great turnout. A lot of scientific publications were presented this week. Any highlight, any things that really grabbed your attention in such a busy week with so many papers?
Okay, so I have an anecdote to say here. I think overall it was a great conference. A lot of very cool people came in. It's really sort of bustling. It's still going on, but I think this was Wednesday. I was at the conference venue. I was doing some work at one of these tables after a meeting and talking to other researchers. And then this one of the staffers of the conference venue, the convention center, came up to me. So he was just like a security guard, right? Like looking at the event and making sure everyone has their badges. And he came to me and he was like, "I'm so sorry. I don't want to bother you, but can I just have a question?" I was like, yeah, sure. Ask a question. And then he was like, "What is this conference about?" Because I see posters about biology and physics and business and these like agents and like finance and like this and this and this and that. Like it's a mishmash of everything. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of like where we're at right now. Like AI has this impact and like this amazing sort of scope where we can really build applications or solutions for many different fields. And there's a lot of this like interdisciplinary work. And so this external observation of this one person who had never, I assume, worked in AI or done work with AI, was just like, oh my God, there's so much going on. I was like, that's really cool. So I think that's the first thing that I want to say. There was a lot of diversity of ideas and solutions, and it's really, I think it really goes to show how impactful AI is and how much impact it can have on different fields and areas of study. So that's one thing. Second thing, I think there was a really big effort on AI and social impact or social sort of challenges. I was helping run one of the tracks for that, and we had like 4 or 5 different tracks across like all days because there were like so many papers in that track. So I think that's really cool to see as well that people care about these topics. Now I think it's one thing to say that we have this interest. I think that's great. I think we need to, in my opinion, move forward in like building more lasting solutions. I think papers are great at identifying problems or sort of proposing solutions, but we need to make sure that we're doing this continually and like across the board, and it's not just like an academic sort of siloed, GitHub repo. I think we need to go beyond that, but I think that's something we're all working on and trying to understand better together.
I love this call for being also entrepreneurs. The scientific community is the fuel to build and innovate, build technology, innovate, and remind us of the opportunity and risk, but also making it practical
100%.
And bringing it to our social fabric instead of just leaving it to those few companies that are leading the world today. So, Maty, it has been a pleasure to have you here, to have you in person in Dublin. So, thank you for listening to Rebuild Trust in Tech. We'll see you on one of our next episodes where we talk about technology that is worth building to establish a fabric, a digital technology that is worth of trust. Thank you.
Thanks so much
you,
for having
Maty.
me.
That was Alessandra Sala in conversation with Maty Bohacek.